More problems for Hillary Clinton on this Friday. The House Oversight Committee could subpoena the former Secretary of State as early as today about her growing email controversy. Welcome to Happening Now. I'm John Scott.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Jenna Lee. We're also learning the BlackBerry Mrs. Clinton used while she was America's top diplomat was reportedly not issued by the State Department. And South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy is also preparing to turn up the heat on Mrs. Clinton. His select committee on Benghazi wants her emails concerning the deadly assault on our consulate there that left 4 Americans dead.
For more on this, let's bring in Carol Lee, White House correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, and Bob Cusack, editor-in-chief of The Hill. This constant drip of allegations, Carol, could prove a real problem for the woman who is the frontrunner to be the Democratic nominee.
It could, and the biggest problem is that it's looking increasingly like these issues are going to stretch into 2016. Particularly, you have Trey Gowdy saying that he is not going to have her come testify until he gets all of the emails that he feels he's entitled to, and that's going to take some time. And we're going to have revelations after revelation, including the one you just mentioned about the use of her personal BlackBerry, not a government-issued BlackBerry, and that's a real problem. The biggest thing that really hurts politicians is when a story is not. Is in this drip kind of a phase, and this is looking like that's not going to change.
The Democrats, Bob, are saying that this is really just a partisan battle, maybe a partisan witch hunt. Is it?
Mm-hmm. No, it's not. I mean, Obamacare is a partisan issue, but this is not a partisan issue. Certainly that's going to be the script for Hillary Clinton going forward. And the good news is that Democrats are circling the wagons because, of course, she is going to be their nominee. But the State Department is investigating this. The Associated Press has filed a lawsuit. And as Carol said, this is going to go on forever, at least for months. And it's going to go into 2016, I think. Republicans have to watch it that they don't push too hard on this. They're going to do investigations, but they want to have public opinion on their side, especially going into 2016. And remember, Hillary Clinton is going to go to Capitol Hill and testify.
Are you surprised, Carol, that nobody noticed this before? I mean, the Benghazi committee, one would think, would have said, hey, we don't have a single email here from Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State on the Benghazi issue.
Well, I think that the way that this came out was in part because of that. I mean, the story is that the initial story that broke came from that outlet, and so it seems like this is something that was brewing for some time, and if you look at the questions that the White House has gotten on this, they didn't even know about this. The President of the United States has said he didn't know about this until he learned about it through news reports. So there were a lot of people who were unaware of what her email setup was.
The Benghazi committee is going to be digging into it, and they could be digging, Carol, for quite some time.
They could, and the really interesting part about that is they're going to be digging, and they potentially are going to be calling a full-fledged candidate for the presidency to testify before their committee, and that's a really unique situation. And one thing that I think that you might see Hillary Clinton and her campaign, once it is a full-blown campaign, try to do is deflect some of the tension away from what she did by pointing out that other potential candidates on the Republican side, particularly Jeb Bush, used a similar setup when he was holding public office. Now, Governor Bush's folks will push back on that in that it was not exclusive use, and there were other important differences, but I think you can look to see that Hillary Clinton's campaign, which could be announced in a number of weeks, to try to muddy the waters a little bit and make it look as if she didn't do anything that was necessarily that different from what some of her potential opponents did.
Also want to talk to you, too, about an article that caught our attention. David Drucker of the Washington Examiner writes that Republican insiders see the recent open letter to Iran's leaders on the nuclear talks as a net gain politically, despite all of the blowback in Washington. Bob, do you agree?
I disagree to some degree. I do think that Republicans had to play defense on this, and part of the reason is because 7 senators, including the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Bob Corker, did not sign it. But if you look at the big picture, John, I mean, this is something that fires up the Republican base, and we are in that season. The Republicans are all angling to get the nomination. So that is a good sign for Republicans. And in the big picture is, are we going to have a deal or not? And when and if Obama announces a deal, there are, in all likelihood, going to be some Democrats, likely Robert Menendez from New Jersey, who is going to balk at it. So that's going to happen relatively soon. This has been a bit of a kerfuffle for Republicans, but that's going to pass.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Robert Menendez finds himself in trouble with the Justice Department. Yes. Carol, some people are wondering whether that would be the case if he were more supportive of the administration on its Iran approach.
Yeah, I think that the White House has gone to, well, first of all, they haven't officially confirmed that this is happening, but they've gone to pretty great lengths to distance themselves from it and have put the Justice Department in the position of being an independent agency. I would think that on the Iran letter, if it plays to the Republican base on a political level, Republicans could come out with a net gain on that. But substantively, they could wind up losing in that what you've seen is a number of Democrats who were supportive of bipartisan legislation to put additional sanctions on Iran, another bill that would give Congress, require Congress's approval of a final deal. They've kind of backed away from that a little bit, or at least are looking at this as an issue that is becoming increasingly partisan, and that makes them a little warier of it. And that, frankly, makes the White House's job a little bit easier because they were putting pressure on those Democrats not to align so much with Republicans to support that legislation.
Bob,
so it could be a political win, but perhaps a substantive loss.
The White House, Bob, has said that there's only a 50-50 chance they'll get this Iran deal if it blows up. Can they then turn around and blame it on the Republicans?
Oh, I think they would if they don't get a deal. But, I think they're going to get a deal. I mean, they have been talking for so long. There have been constant delays to the deadline. They even say that it's not a March 24th deadline. It's a March 31st deadline. So they have so much invested in this whole issue that I think they are going to get an agreement. And if they don't, yeah, they're going to blame the Republicans.
All right. Bob Cusack and Carol Lee. We'll see what happens. Thank you both.
Thank you.